Indira Gandhi National Open University, School of Continuing Education, Bachelor's Degree Program, Elective Course, Gender Studies, BGSE-001 Gender Sensitization, Society, Culture and Change, Block to Gender and Family. Unit 6 Marriage. 6.1 Introduction. In this unit, along with understanding marriage as an institution, we will discuss the different kinds of discrimination inherent to marriage. It should be stressed that marriage by itself, and as is understood today, isn't a universal system in terms of time, space, and communities, and how the patriarchal and sacramental nature of marriage keeps women subordinated and perpetrates violence against them. 6.2 Objectives. This unit will help you to times define marriage as an institution and some of the various forms it takes. Times to understand functionalist perspective on marriage. Times discuss feminist perspectives on marriage and times discuss Indian feminist studies on marriage. 6.3 Definition and meaning. Marriage is traditionally considered to be a socially legally recognized relationship between an adult male and female. Marriage brings with it certain rights and obligations. According to Anthony Giddens, 2009, marriage can be defined as a socially acknowledged and approved sexual union between two adult individuals. When two people marry, they become kin to one another. The marriage bond also, however, connects together a wider range of kinspeople. Parents, brothers, sisters, and other blood relatives become relatives of the partner through marriage. Heteronormative patriarchal social order prevalent in all societies necessitates the two partners in marriage to be from opposite gender. Heteronormativity is about only opposite gender, i.e., a man and woman being allowed to marry. Same-sex marriage is tabooed and not allowed socially and legally except a few countries which grant legal sanction to such marriages. Couples from the same sex, i.e., as shown in this picture, a woman and a woman in love are not allowed to marry. Same-sex couples like in this picture, a man and a man marrying is tabooed, stigmatized, and made illegal by both society and law. In India, too, same-sex love and marriage is tabooed and banned both by society and the law. It is believed that at the basis of almost every kinship systems is marriage. Marriage is a social or a binding legal defining the union of a man and a woman living together in a sexual relationship with the expectation of producing offspring. This relationship is defined and sanctioned by tradition and law. Traditionally, marriage involves a man, a woman, and their children. One of the important purposes of marriage is believed to be for biological reproduction. Today, this understanding needs to be amended, as men and women do not necessarily include having children as one of the purposes of marriage. In certain societies, couples reproduce even without entering into marriage, and then may or may not choose to marry. There are couples who enter into marriage but chose to be childless or opt for adoption rather than have their own biological children. Further, as same-sex partners are entering into marriage, such couples may go for adoption, medical inception, and other scientific and legal methods to include children in their family. Thus, the importance of marriage no longer remains exclusively attached to the notion of biological reproduction, but is also undertaken for the purpose of companionship. Scott and Marshall, 2005. 6.4 Forms of marriage. Marriage takes various forms in different societies. The two broad commonly accepted subdivisions in forms of marriage based on number of partners are monogamy and polygamy. Monogamy refers to the marriage of one man with one woman. This is the most common form of marriage found across modern contemporary societies. One man marrying one woman is monogamy. Polygamy is the term for plural marriage. It can in turn be subdivided into polyandry, or the union of one woman with several men, polygyny, or the union of one man with several women. Group marriage involves several men living with several women. Within polygamy, polygyny is more common than polyandry. Polyandry, marriage of one woman with more than one man. Polygyny, marriage of one man with more than one woman. Based on rules of marriage, marriage takes place into broad forms endogamy and exogamy. Endogamy ensures that partners in the marriage belong to the same social group, i.e., the same caste, tribe, religion, class, and others. Marriage between Brahman woman and Brahman man is equal to endogamy, i.e., caste endogamy. Marriage between Dalit man and Dalit woman is equal to endogamy, i.e., caste endogamy. Marriage between Christian woman and Christian man is equal to endogamy, i.e., religious endogamy. Marriage between Bodo man and Bodo woman is equal to endogamy, i.e., ethnic endogamy. In India, the Hindu social order through its caste system strictly followed and continues to follow caste endogamy. Any violation of it entailed punishment, including what is known as honor killing. Endogamy and violent enforcement of it continues rather rigidly even in contemporary times. Such honor killings are largely perpetrated when caste endogamous rules of marriage are challenged by young couples, i.e., when couples belonging to different castes, especially the girl belonging to higher caste marries a boy belonging to lower caste. Caste endogamy supposedly ensured the maintenance of the purity of the caste group, maintenance of caste boundary and hierarchy, and perpetuated caste inequality through unequal distribution of property and power among several castes. Rao, 2005. Further, marriage between individuals belonging to different castes is called hypergamous marriage if the woman belonged to a lower caste and the man to a higher caste. The marriage of a higher caste woman to a lower caste man is called hypogamy. In Indian society, hypergamous marriage is relatively easily accepted as compared to hypogamous marriages. Hypogamous marriages often lead to violence against the caste group to which the man belongs by the upper caste group to which the woman belongs. Exogamy, on the other hand, entails that individuals marry outside their own group. Gotra exogamy, whereby individuals are expected to marry outside their Gotra, lineage group, and village exogamy, which was the norm of marriage in some North Indian villages, entails that members married outside one's village are some among the various forms of exogamy. Exogamy of Gotra is also strictly followed in India. Breaking of Gotra exogamy rules can also lead to honor killings. Based on sex of partners, marriage can be of two kinds, i.e., heterosexual marriage and homosexual marriage. In heterosexual marriage, partners belong to opposite sex, whereas in homosexual marriage the partners belong to same sex. Before reading further, attempt the following exercise. Check your progress. 1. Explain different forms of marriage. 2. Write a short note on A. Endogamy. B. Exogamy. In the following sections you will read about feminist theories on marriage, violence in marriage, and queer perspectives on marriage. 6.5 Functionalist theory on marriage. Various strands of feminism critique mainstream theories such as functionalism for not recognizing existing unequal power relations within marriage and family. According to feminists, by glorifying marriage and family and advocating them as essential and egalitarian institutions, functionalism reinforces and justifies gender-based discrimination. Various feminist researchers across the world brought forth that women take on the lion's share of domestic and caring-giving work, which is not recognized as productive labor with any market value. You will read about women's work in detail in Block 3. Women are socialized into acceptance of feminine domestic roles in marriage, which makes them good and respectable wives. Frieden 1963. Gender socialization, whereby girls are told that their task is to cook, clean, and perform repetitive, uncreative work and be subordinate. Whereas boys are told to occupy position of power, do masculine creative tasks, and enjoy the fruits of women's work. At the same time, when they go for work outside home, they are paid much less than men. There is continuity between women's subordination within the private sphere of marriage and family and the public sphere of wage work. Further, research also show that even when women go out to work in similar positions as men, they are still burdened with housework, performing second shift, one shift at office, and another taking care of home and family by doing housework. Second shift women doing office as well as housework. Such double burdens on women affect their performance, which in turn affects their economic gains. On the other hand, such gender division of labor burdening women doubly forces women employees to put extra effort to achieve the same goals as male employees occupying same position. In marriage harms the position of women as a whole, merely by constraining their options and ambitions, confining them to domestic sphere, and placing on them the exclusive burden of housework. Gender division of labor limits women's choices and life chances. Though, like any individual, women possess dreams and ambitions, hobbies and interests, and would like to be involved in creative, competitive works and earn a living and status, yet gender division of labor restricts them to the private sphere and to housework, thus curtailing their interests, ambition, and freedom, making them dependent and subordinate. This also affects their personality and affects their self confidence. They become economically, socially, and politically dependent on men, hampering their self confidence, forcing them to tolerate discrimination and violence. Thus, gender division of labor directly and indirectly coerces women to accept subordination in marriage. Amongst the different strands of feminism, Marxist feminists argue that monogamous marriage is a social institution that has nothing to do with love and everything to do with private property. Thus, marriage benefits the capitalist class, and women's subordination within marriage can be overcome only by overthrowing. It is the exploitative system of private property. For radical feminists, marriage is a tool of patriarchy, which through its heterosexual norms keeps women subordinated. Patriarchy is the first form of social exploitation. In this system of patriarchy, men as a group hold power over women. Power lies with men. Men become the standard against which women are compared and found lacking. Consequently, man himself becomes the exploiter and women the major oppressed class. Abbott et al. 2005. Girls and boys are socialized into feminine and masculine roles from childhood. Family, religion, media, books, peer groups all socialize girls to be proud of femininity and subordination, whereas they tell men not just to be tough and violent but also not to be soft, emotional, and weak. This has a larger impact on marriage and the position of women within it. Socialist feminists argue that in order to understand subordination of women within marriage and family, it is important to understand the organization of both production as well as reproduction. They agree with Marxist feminism's idea that confinement of women to the domestic sphere of housework and motherhood serves the economic interests of capitalism. Women relieve men of the burden of housework and child rearing and allow them to concentrate on productive employment. To summarize, feminists see marriage not as an egalitarian harmonious institution but that which is fraught with contradictions. According to feminists, marriage is a hierarchical institution whereby women are given secondary status. gender division of labor, capitalist economy, unpaid housework, unequal wage system in paid work, heterosexual norms, control over women's sexuality, eulogizing of masculinity and femininity, violence, unequal property, and other rights, along with discriminatory laws, make marriage an unequal exploitative institution. They reject the notion that marriage is functional and beneficial to all members and bring forth the various ways in which women are discriminated and suffer in marriage. Let us now read how violence is perpetuated in marriage. 6. 6. Violence in marriage. Ill effects of early marriage are poverty, lack of education, traditional gender roles, schooling ends, lack of control over health and reproductive decisions, and frequent pregnancy, fistula and other health problems, infection, hemorrhage, obstruction labor, and eventually death. Marital violence can be perpetrated both in active and passive manner. It can be in an overt and covert manner, and can be physical, sexual, and psychological in nature or all at a time. Violence in marriage involves kicking, beating with hand or stick, dragging the woman by hair, cutting her body, abusing her with foul language, keeping her hungry, having forced sex, shouting, scolding, threatening, desertion, restriction in her movements, restricting her from employment, and many other means of torture. Some of the forms that it takes in India are discussed below. Early marriage. Early marriage is encouraged to control the sexuality of the girl. She should be passed safely from her natal home to the marital home without bringing in danger to the family name. A girl's sexuality has to be controlled, as if she misuses her freedom, it may bring disgrace upon the family honor. Early marriage results in early pregnancy, which is harmful and life-taking for the mother. It also does not give women chance to grow as an individual, restricting their educational and employment opportunities. This further keeps them subordinated in marriage and tolerate violence. Dowry is an age-old practice related to marriage in India. It is the exchange of wealth, especially from the bride's home to the groom's. It can be in the form of cash, ornaments, lands, modern gadgets, or other movable and immovable property. Dowry forms one of major causes of wife battering. Dowry violence and dowry deaths are regularly reported from homes in India. Wives are beaten, deserted, tortured, murdered, burnt for extracting more dowries. The evil of dowry is behind sex selection, abortions, and infanticide. In the recent times, one sees that the dowry system has percolated to those societies where dowry as a system never existed. Wife battering, the most widely practiced and widely denied form of domestic violence, is wife battering. Wife battering involves physical, psychological, and sexual abuse inflicted upon the wife that sometimes leads to the death of the woman. It is a complex social phenomenon of power relationships within the family. It is socially acceptable to keep the wife in a subordinate position. It isn't talked about and interfered in, as it is regarded as a personal matter between the wife and the husband. Due to their gender socialization, wives sometimes tend to accept such violence. Wife battering is a common form of violence within the four walls of the home, which is thought to be the most safe and secure place. Marital rape is commonly defined as any unwanted intercourse or penetration obtained by force, threat of force, or when the wife is unable to consent. Rape in marriage is a sexual violence, an abuse of power by which a husband attempts to establish dominance and control over his wife, who he feels is his property. For a long time, most of these violence were not even legislated against by the law. It is mostly through the efforts of the women's movement that today most of these forms of violence are declared illegal through legislations. However, violence such as marital rape is yet to be recognized as a crime both by the law and society. 6.7 Queer perspectives on marriage. These are broadly of two kinds. One group argues in favor of extending marriage rights to the queers. Such demands challenge heteronormativity of marriage. For this group, it is a matter of being granted equal rights as citizens and the benefits that comes with marriage which is denied to them by making queer unions illegal. The very fact that marriage is denied to such groups is a marker of their secondary status in the social and legal arena. The other strand too challenges heteronormativity in marriage but does not see extending right to marriage for queers as a solution. They reject marriage as an institution. This anti-marriage queer group argues that such right to marriage will neither transform the exploitative nature of marriages nor will it help reduce hierarchy and discriminations queers face. 6.8 Divorce. In many societies, divorce has become an accepted part of marriage. All legal systems today grant the right to divorce to both women and men in marriage. Divorce laws have become simpler, with granting of mutual consent divorces. Though divorced status is considered as normal in many societies, in India it is still difficult to opt for divorce, especially for women. India has different marriage and divorce laws for different religions. Almost all religions have their own marriage and divorce laws. Grounds for divorce in India mainly include adultery, desertion, cruelty, impotency, chronic diseases, and conversion into another religion. Though several laws have been passed, the divorce procedure in India is still complex and time-taking. The judiciary in India largely believes that marriages should be saved and often grant extended time span and provide marital counseling before actually hearing their case for divorce. Divorce still is seen as an act of breaking of marriage and family even when sought under conditions of cruelty. This is largely the case when a woman initiates divorce, bringing upon her the tags of home breaker, loose morals, selfish, bad mother, and others. State, society, and community are still anxious to save marriage and family and protect the dominance of men even at the cost of women's rights to a life of dignity and freedom from violence. 6.9 Summing UP. Marriage can be defined as a socially acknowledged and approved sexual union between two adult individuals. Traditionally, marriage in most societies is thought to be a sacrament. However, today marriage has taken the form of a contract and is bound by legal rules and regulations. Marriage takes various forms. The most common classification is that of monogamy and polygamy. Marital ideology across the world has been based on the principle of female subservience and male domination. Domestic violence, which includes marital violence, is a sad reality of the institutions of marriage and family and takes various forms. Divorce today is granted in almost all societies by law. However, in India, the discourse on women's rights within marriage and family is a complex and contentious matter as it is closely intertwined with religious and other social identity politics issues. 6.10 Keywords. Hemorrhage, a flow oozing of blood from a ruptured blood vessel. Fistula, it is an abnormal connection between two hollow spaces such as blood vessels, intestines, or other hollow organs. Fistula are usually caused by injury or surgery. 6.1 to Unit N questions. 1. Explain feminist theories of marriage. 2. Examine how violence takes place in the institution.
Thank you for watching. We will see you in the next video with the next chapter.